Welcome to the Spring 2010 Convocation. This convocation is a special one for several reasons. And part of the special nature of the program has to do with an important milestone for our president. I invite you to view a small video that is part of that milestone. Short but sweet, I'm delighted to invite you to join you at the podium, President Marcia Keyes, now in her 6th year as president.
Thank you so much, everyone. And starting a 6th very exciting year, and really looking to 2015 and 2020 or whatever number you want to pick down the road. Thank you so much for that. It made me feel a little nostalgic. I didn't know it was happening. You know, I'm a little bit of a, some people call it control freak, so I didn't know that there was something different happening here. So I'm glad it didn't take too long. So welcome everyone to our convocation, our spring convocation. This is the one that we like to think of as our business meeting, where we really go into the heart of something that's important here at York College. Before we go to that, I want to assure you that we will end by 1:45 so that you will get your lunches and move on to your next order of business, and for many of you that will be teaching. But I do want to just note a couple of things. I want to really thank first of all, I want to welcome new people to the college. If there's anyone who is coming to Convocation for the first time, this is not sort of your formal welcome. We do that really at the fall Convocation. We call you by name and ask you to rise. But today, we'd just like to see if there's anyone new who's joined our community, and if you would just sort of collectively stand so that we can welcome you. Is there anyone who's joined us for the first time this spring rather? Could you stay standing for a minute, please? Anybody else? Thank you for joining us. We are delighted to have you with us. I also want to provide a real warm thank you to the folks who came out on Saturday to the I'm a Cardinal Spirit Day. Yes, and some of them are wearing their t-shirts, that's right, including Professor Ruttenberg and others. It's an effort that we were sort of launching as a pilot, because as we go into next year, we'll be looking to try to roll out a full freshman year initiative. And this was a pilot program to see if we could sort of get a few people out to some of the basketball games. And of course, the spirit was there, and York won. I see Larry up there. He was there with his wife in their little red shirts, not a York t-shirt, but a red shirt nonetheless. Many families were out. So I really want to thank the people who led that, including Dean Gibson, Dean Rosen, and Dean Assistant VP Hodge, who I don't see. Oh, there he is. And many, many others. So wonderful Spirit Day. While we did some other very important things on that Saturday, while I was here, I figured I would take a busman's holiday, you know, and wander around the campus. And I went up and I saw Professor Clovey with so many people waiting to have their income tax done, and at least about 10 alums who had come from all across New York to serve as volunteers. So I really want to congratulate Professor Clovey on that effort and to say how really pleased we are. I know, Professor Clovey, we're not always quite there with you shoulder to shoulder. We mean to be. Sometimes we're not, but we really appreciate the work you have done on this project. And also available on that day was immigration advice for Haitians, temporary permanent status. So I want to thank people who were there as well. And I want to ask you just to take a moment, if you will, just to reflect quietly about the lives lost, the unfortunate devastation, to know that we at York will continue to do what we can, especially during the week of March 15th to 19th, when we will have a special effort on Haitian relief. But I do ask you to take a few seconds now just to remember that devastation and to commit to doing something about it. I thank you for that moment of reflection. Just so you know, we are at 6,901 in enrollment, about 8% up from last spring, but a little bit down from the fall. 127 new freshmen and 546 transfers. We anticipate robust enrollment in the fall, and we're hoping that we will be able to hire new faculty to assure that we have teaching strength to match our enrollment growth. I also want to alert you to the fact that, as the provost indicated, I'm starting my 6th year, and in the cycle of the university, I come up for review at this time. So I'm in the midst of writing a self-assessment. Another component of the assessment will be the performance management indicators that you have come to know and love, not necessarily the results, but at least the data it provides. And a third element will be a random survey that you and others may participate in. I don't know when it will be done or how it will be done, but those of you who are notified, I do encourage you to respond. And now to our program. I'd like to invite some members of our strategic planning committee to tell you where we are and what we've wrought over these last few months as we have actively engaged in the strategic planning exercise. Those of you who were around for Middle States some years ago know that one of the major recommendations coming out of Middle States was that we should really engage in a robust strategic planning exercise. And because we will not be visited again for 10 years, and because our periodic review will now be due in about 3 to 4 years, we thought we would take some time to go deep on this topic. And so we established a committee. You will see the members identified on the handout you have. And in fall, we started that work, led ably by external consultants who have done a lot of work here in New York State, Heasel consultants, to help sort of shepherd our path. We've met 5 times, I believe, so far as a committee of the whole, and any number of small meetings in working committees. And what you have in your hand and what you'll hear about today is the draft that we hope to put forward in the next 2 months or so after a broader discussion among students, faculty, and staff. And when it is buttressed by objectives and goals, which will then become our working document for the year 2020 or the year 2015. So in order to hear more about this, I'd like first to invite to the podium Professor Bonnie Oglinski to talk about the mission statement. Dr. Oglinski?
Welcome, everybody. I've been asked to say a few words about the development of a mission statement for the college. And when I was thinking about doing this, I've been thinking about a quote that I wrote down a number of years ago at a conference that really struck me, and that quote was that words are the window dressing for ideas. And certainly the development, the crafting of a mission statement has brought that quote to life for me. That is, selecting the right words to express our essence, in this case, who we are, who we have been, what we stand for. It's been a wordsmithing job for sure, but more importantly, it's been a process of looking internally at ourselves to contemplate and bring into focus our identity as a college. So as part of the group of, I'm not sure how many we are, but of 25 or so strategic planning committee members, faculty and administrators, met over a number of days in the fall to discuss really big questions, such as what makes York distinctive within CUNY, outside of CUNY, and as a defining institution in our neighborhood here of Jamaica, Queens. Why are we here? Why are we here at York? What do we envision as our core purpose? What do we aspire to be as a college? What is the mark that we want to make? How do we want to make it for the college community of students, the faculty and administrators, CUNY as a whole, and the world apart from academia? And what's going to draw people to York as we move forward in time? Why will folks choose York? As you can probably imagine, our discussions provoked passionate, head-scratching, sobering reflection, dreaming, spirited argument, flashes of insight, gut-level yays and nays, meticulous, hair-splitting dissections of words, and ultimately a steady, step-by-step process of working through version after version after version of the mission statement. We believe that the mission statement crafted through this process gets at the heart of York's distinction and reason for being, and we will look forward to more conversation among the college community as a whole on that matter. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Bonnie. Really captured a lot of what we did. And as you see, the mission statement, well, we're up now to vision. As you see, the mission statement is there. It's on your pages. We hope that you will start embracing it. Second, I'd like to invite Tim Paglione. And I must say that Tim jumped in to make this presentation about an hour ago, because the person who was supposed to do this, Professor Berkowitz, who really everybody was really just very, very engaged. And I wanted him to speak about this, but he unfortunately is suffering from the flu and a high fever today and could not come in. And so we looked around and we said, okay, let the physicists do it. I think they can, they're nimble enough, if you will. So Tim volunteered, said yes graciously, and so we'd like to invite him to the podium to say anything he likes about the vision statement or the process or anything else that he would like to say. Thank you so much.
No problem. Isn't that what everybody says? Oh, we don't know what to do. Let a physicist do it. I've heard that so many times. And then let him say whatever he wants, of course. I want to second what Bonnie was saying, that it's been a very enjoyable experience to be involved in these workshops. They're long and very engaged, and the time's really invested, and we thank the President for putting together all these groups to do those discussions. They are very, very productive. We come out with a lot of fruitful things, and there is a lot of arguing, but it's very open, and everyone feels welcome to argue and throw items out there and play devil's advocate and yell and argue, and it's a really good environment, very good, healthy working environment. I'm not sure what's going to be coming up behind me, but let me just tell you about what the vision is. You saw the mission statement's now rather compact, and so the vision statement is a little more fleshing out. You know, now that we know what our mission is, or we think we understand what our mission is, what are we going to do with that? How do we see York, you know, working from that mission? And so that's where sort of the vision comes into play, and it's been broken out, and you have your drafts, and that's what I'm assuming is going to come up behind me. But it's been broken out into a few areas. And we sat down, and actually the vision took quite a lot of wrangling to work out. We had to do it outside of some of the general workshops and with some special conference calls and other things. But it's been broken down into 4 main areas that we figured were the most important to concentrate on, being academics and the student experience, the environment and the culture, and the community impact. You can see they all stem from the mission, and it just sort of elaborates a bit on what we think that the implementation of the mission should be in the end. And so I just would encourage you to look at that. All the members of the group are listed, and if you have anything to add or to comment on, again, this is a really active process, and we'd like to hear from you, and we hope that this aligns with everything you expect from York as well.
So as we move on, I'd like you to hear from Assistant Dean Gibson, who will talk a little bit about our values. So, you know, we have our mission, our vision, and our values. And I really do encourage you to read this carefully, respond to it, react to it. I think that in time, you know, we've sort of been with it for a while, and we're thinking it's really quite good, sometimes even a little bit elegant maybe, but certainly focused on capturing who we think we are and who we think we want to be down the road. So let us hear Dean Gibson talk a little bit about our values.
Thank you, President. The President shared that she was entering her 6th year. Well, I'm nearing my 6th month. but it feels as though I've been here for 6 years or more. In a good way, in a good way. One of the most important activities I think that I had an opportunity to participate in was the strategic planning sessions. And I think when I actually thought back on what the activity involved, that's when I realized that we were engaged in this activity for about 6 months, actually. And it was a group of faculty, staff, and administrators led by our consultants from HESO Associates. And we really drilled down and tackled what was most important to the college. How do we want others to see us? And most importantly, what types of messages we convey to our students and also to the greater community. And after months of focus groups, wordsmithing, an activity that I think I'm growing to dislike more and more, but it was an activity to allow us to really get to the essence of the message in which we wanted to share. several drafts took place. And at times, there were some disagreements, but ultimately consensus was formed. One of the values I really had to defend, and that was intentional interaction, excuse me. Fortunately enough for me, I had the support of the president on that particular value. And it's up, okay. So integrity, diversity, intellectual discovery and creativity, intentional interactions, self-reflection and accountability, and civic engagement. I encourage you all to discuss these values with your colleagues and really consider whether or not if this truly captures the essence of who we are. I personally believe that it does, and a lot of work has gone in to really identify what we value most. So thank you.
So to close this section, I would just ask any members of the Strategic Planning Committee who are here, if you would stand, please, and just stay standing. We want to acknowledge you. We also want to let some of you are here. I know you are here. Yeah, please. I mean, don't be shy. Professor Oriyama, when did you get to be shy? I didn't know you as a shy, shrinking. Yeah, great. So these are some of the colleagues who've been doing this work and will continue to do this work. And when we go out to the town hall meetings and when we go to the focus groups, or if you would want to invite any of these colleagues to your department meetings to defend or to receive additional comments, certainly when we come to the Senate, these are some of the colleagues who will be there. So I just wanted to let you see who's been active. You can feed information back to them, but I want you specifically today to thank them for their work, because this has been a very, very committed group. So thank you so much. The work continues, and now I'd like to pass the baton to Provost Griffith for the general education presentation.
Now a round of applause for President Keyes. There's a certain connectivity between the topic that we briefly heard about and the topic that we're about to discuss. And that common denominator actually is really two B words. Both strategic planning and the Gen Ed we're designing are about moving from being to becoming. They're about our futures. And you know, it's often said that in terms of the future, there are three kinds of people: those who let the future happen, those who make the future happen, and those who wonder, when did it happen? I strongly suspect that each of us, all of us in this room, are intent on being in the second category. People who will make the future happen in terms of strategic planning, people who will make the future happen in terms of general education reform. But I also think that as colleagues who want to be part of the Making It Happen group, we want to embrace the opportunities for the futures. We want to take ownership of our parts, our roles, our responsibilities in making those futures happen. And we also want to be able to claim outcomes and work towards them and celebrate the outcomes that are part of our future. And we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about the Gen Ed future. But I would want to just make two quick observations as we continue the conversation about Gen Ed futures that has begun more than a year ago. And I would ask that as we think of the Gen Ed design, this future, we should rise above departmental parochialism. We should rise above fixations on specific courses that we may lose or may have in this new design. I would want to ask that, in keeping with what we saw, the vision statement and the mission statement that are part of the design of the future, that we focus most on what the students need and not what we as faculty or staff want. It should be about the students. But I think as we also think through and talk about the future, we've got to be mindful not only of the importance of the design of the future, we've got to be mindful of the importance of the delivery of that future, a delivery where, and Vadim and Deb and Margaret have heard me say this over and over, not only is it important to think about the what of the gen ed, the content, we also need to think about the how of the gen ed, the pedagogy. But we also need to think about the by whom of the gen ed. Should the gen ed be significantly delivered by junior faculty? I think not. Should the gen ed be preponderantly delivered by adjunct faculty? I think not. It's important that as we think of the delivery of the future, we go beyond the what to the how, and also to the by whom. We're going to have serious conversations later on as we walk further along design to delivery, conversations about trade-offs that we're going to have to make, and therefore we're going to have to strike a balance between idealism and realism. There are going to be concerns about budget. There are going to be concerns about space. There are going to be concerns that don't allow us certain luxuries, although we would like to be there. So I encourage you, as we talk about gen ed, as we think of implementing the design of gen ed, we need to strike a balance between idealism and realism. I want to thank the people who have been so far in the forefront of the group of making it happen. Margaret Ballantyne, in her absence, is one of the co-chairs. She's on sabbatical this semester. Vadim Moldovan and Deb Svoboda. But also part of that leadership of making it happen has been the FIG leaders and the FIG members. I want to thank you as well for being part of that leadership in making it happen. And many colleagues have been involved, not members, not leaders of FIGs, not in the task force. I want to also thank you, faculty and staff members, for that leadership so far. There will be one CUNY community member who will be part of our thinking through the design, thinking through the delivery. I'm delighted that Dr. Judith Summerfield, who is former university dean for undergraduate education, she's back at our home campus, Queens, will be consulting with us as we think through benefiting from the experiences of other CUNY colleges, benefiting from the experiences of the national engagement. Judith has been a national leader on gen ed. We want to employ her expertise so we make as few errors as possible as we move from design to delivery. And so, thanks to all the colleagues involved so far. I'm delighted now to introduce Vadim and Deb, in whatever order they choose, to tell us a little bit about what's happening so far with this future.
Good afternoon. A year and a half ago, when the prospect of the new gen ed was just a glimmer in the provost's eye, he charged the faculty of your college with this task of meeting the demands of the new millennium, of the new student body, with the new general education program. It was not a random act. It was actually cyclical. 20 years after the inception of your college apparently did go through a reform. And it's been 20 years now since that last reform. So apparently all goes in cycles. I didn't know that. I heard it first from President Keys when she said that she's being reevaluated every 6 years, and it's another cycle yet. And our cycle for gen ed is 20 years. And here we are, 3 semesters into the process. we are also the last of the CUNYs to embark on this journey. But it's an advantage to us. We sort of stand on the shoulders of other colleges, whether they want us or not, to stand on their shoulders. We benefit from their experience. We benefit from their knowledge. What we are doing is done in consultation now. It's going to be even more of a consultation with Judy Summerfield being on board. So we do have an advantage of developing a curriculum that's going to be in advance of the experience of the predecessors. I was anxious when initially I found myself as a co-chair. I was anxious about the proximity of the co-chairs of Margaret and Deb, of their expertise and knowledge. And also the task. It was a journey, but I guess every journey starts with the first step. And we've made the first step, and we've made many, many more steps as task force meetings, as the retreats that we had, as the presentations, as the meetings of the FIGs, and the countless communications, and the versions of the report, and the documents. So all of these steps are bringing us to the midpoint of our progress. I also have to say that the risk that we all took with this journey was really something that was inspired and guided by the principles that this journey was following, and the principles that came from the general education, let's say, efforts before this one, and also by the spirit of your college, by this seemingly new culture. I don't know, I've been here for 7 years, and I've seen the change. The college and the community of your college seem to be inspired, and there is a spirit of collaboration and a spirit of change that is happening. And it seems like there is sort of an escalation of that. There is also something that I would call an urge to cross-pollinate. In other words, to work across the disciplines, across the boundaries. And I've been really blessed by the opportunities to work with the colleagues from other departments, from other disciplines. So we are at the midpoint of our journey, and there is an artifact, a sacrament of sorts, that we have to deliver this point to the college community, embodied in the provost, who actually charged us with this. And this is something that, of course, Deb was most she was instrumental in putting it together, and it's a task force report on Jeanette. She has this in her lap, and I wonder whether she wants to share the red and the white copy with the president and the provost.
Thank you.
Can I just do that? It's a big thing. Yeah. So we also have a new name for the process for the reform, and I'm not sure whether it's an acronym or an alliteration, but we're calling ourselves now the General Education for the New Millennium at your college. So it would stand for GEM at your college. And with that, I would like to turn to the stalwart and productive members of the task force to share with the audience the 25 things that all of you should know about Jeanette. And we'll start with me, right? Am I supposed to? I don't have my... Okay, so it says that the new Jeanette, the proposed Jeanette, is a complete an integrated set of foundation, core, and capstone courses. And I'll elaborate on this in just 2 sentences. There really has to be a sense of holism about the whole process. This is really the key word in this sentence, is integrated. Integrated across disciplinary lines. This is very important to know about the new gen ed. And with that, I'll turn to the next speaker, and that's Michelle Gregory. Is she coming down the aisle? Please, would you?
Hello. The second issue when it comes to the goals of the gen ed reform, and that is to foster intellectual growth amongst undergraduates and also experimentation. And if you think about intellectual growth, these courses, which will be a combination of multiple disciplines, not only encourages students to think laterally, but also horizontally. And that's critical. I mean, I come from the business world, and lateral intellectual abilities to think are highly valued. The other factor, experimentation, well, experimentation is the hallmark of change and growth. You cannot have change without experimenting and moving yourself forward. Okay, thank you.
Stay up here, Michelle. From its inception, York College has been a part of a history of reflection on general education that goes back at least to Plato's Republic.
Good job, Howard. You got him in there.
I was there. I wanted to mention it. By its 3rd year, the college was reconsidering a curriculum structure inherited from the University of Chicago, with faculty arguing for courses closer to their own specialties and students insisting upon relevance to world peace and civil rights. The compromise menu of alternatives adopted by an exhausted college curriculum committee held sway for 20 years when it was altered to strengthen reading skills, after which cultural diversity courses were added. The pressure of adaptation to changing times, the need to fit general learning to the skill required in specialized professions, and the wish to formulate a more integrated introduction to the arts and sciences, a true enkycleos paideia, or circle of learning, has the college once more embarked on remaking itself. No general education curriculum short of lifelong study is sufficient. We must try to develop a curriculum that fosters skills for specialized and lifelong learning and that enables students to find their own humanity in an understanding of arts and sciences.
Within the CUNY system, York is in the position to build on the gen ed reforms other sister colleges have already achieved in recent years, as Vadim pointed out. But this gives us the advantage of being able to learn from their experience, study their documents, and engage our colleagues at our colleges in a dialogue, and I'm happy to hear that this is in full swing and happening. In the City University of New York, 2009 to 2010 performance goals and targets document, general education reform is tied to the general goal of improving student success. More specifically, the colleges are asked to, and I quote, provide students with a cohesive and a coherent general education, unquote. The operative words here are cohesive and coherent. And they suggest that individual departments and programs are called upon to put the greater goal of creating a consistent gen ed program guaranteeing student learning and student success above departmental, individual, or idiosyncratic priorities. Unsurprisingly then, the theme for the forthcoming Gen Ed conference at Kingsborough Community College is different disciplines, common goals, and I think we can live with that.
The allotted words I have are the new gen ed curriculum is built on the soldiers. No, that's yours, I'm sorry. Builds students' competencies in reading, writing, oral expression, quantitative reasoning, critical thinking, and technology, the latter of which I think we are, as a faculty, behind in. But I wanted to just add, Vadim said I could have a couple of more words. When you read the Gen Ed report, many of you are going to be shocked. And I just want to add that, you know, why we need this reform is because our Gen Ed, the way it is now, I don't think is really working. And the evidence is in the time it takes for students to pass the CPE and the way the teachers, we allow our students to take the teacher's exam at the point in their career where they almost cannot fail anymore. And that shows we are not doing the right things. And so we have to change. The other thing is give up the territory. The provost stole my thoughts on that. That, you know, I read the report, my discipline gives up a course, another discipline in my department does. Let it go. You'll just be teaching in a different way in a different situation. But the natural reaction, I just know faculty, is going to be territory. You've got to protect your turf, worrying about your class. Let that go. Just let it go. If this new change doesn't work, we can always go back to the old way, and we don't have to wait 20 years. It's not necessarily a 20-year cycle. So that's all. Just be open, and, you know, if you can't make it happen, at least let it happen. Okay?
I'd like to present two reflections. If you're not moving forward, you're moving back. And York has a proud tradition of supporting a CUNY goal of habits of inquiry, communication, and intellectual growth through a liberal education. Although the last of the senior colleges to move forward with revision of general education, York is presenting a general education that is 100% liberal arts and harkens to the spirit of the liberal education of the Greeks. At York College, students will make deep connections between disciplines under the guidance of esteemed mentor teachers.
As part of the proposed new general education curriculum, there's a goal to promote active learning and a deep understanding of educational content. The task force is envisioning ways that we can encourage faculty to work in workshops and seminars to be aware of different classroom activities that emphasize active learning. Encouraging extensive student-to-student, faculty-to-student, and faculty-to-faculty interactions. Fostering an environment where students are comfortable to take risks. And finally, creating hopefully classroom spaces where our students are doing things and thinking about what they're doing.
The new curriculum, the proposed Gen Ed curriculum, provides new possibilities for showcasing the disciplines to prospective majors. Currently, students are asked to choose just 1 or 2 courses in each general content area. 1 course from among all the performing and fine arts, history, or philosophy, 2 courses from among the sciences, for a few examples. For too many students, this is the only time they'll consider sampling courses from areas they are not already considering as a career path. The proposed multidisciplinary core classes will ensure that students are exposed to each discipline within each content area and to the exciting ideas that each of these areas provides. It provides the opportunity to spark an interest in students that they might not know they had. It also will prepare students for further study in these fields by providing the basic skills and competencies that are common across the various disciplines. This will broaden their experience and give them a better understanding of the full range of their academic choices.
Additionally, the proposed new general education curriculum is smaller by 5 to 9 credits than the current general education curriculum. And this will enable many of our students to graduate in a more timely fashion. A lot of students struggle now to graduate within 4 years or even 5 simply because they have so many major requirements and so many general education requirements. So this will help that. And it might also allow many students to embark on a minor course of study, which many cannot do at present, again, given the weightiness of the current general education requirements.
Hi, the proposed Gen Ed, new Gen Ed, also works for every major and professional program in every school at the college. Beyond just being inclusive, that is, having representation from every single discipline, the new Gen Ed provides the essential skills that all students need for success, regardless of their major. And it provides the supporting context, basically, for each major through building students' strengths in the fundamental competencies, which you'll see spelled out in the report.
Good afternoon, colleagues. To support a previous statement, the new Gen Ed will differ from the old in that more minors will be available to students. This potentially holds much for the enrichment of the student as well as the faculty, for diversification, interdisciplinary approaches to learning as well as research, and concurs with our mission statement seen today, as well as our determination to see York College students are globally responsive in the 21st century when they leave us. Thank you.
Undergraduate education at York College has long had as one of its pillars the idea of a spiral writing curriculum that begins in a freshman writing course, continues through a series of 2 writing-intensive designated courses taken in the general education core and a junior level writing course, and culminates in an upper level writing in the disciplines course in the major. The proposed general education revision reaffirms the college's commitment to the importance of writing throughout the undergraduate curriculum. In fact, it proposes to strengthen the connection between the idea of a spiral writing curriculum and the practical manifestation of that idea through the addition of a second writing course taken at the freshman level and the establishment of at least 2 keystone writing-intensive designated offerings.
The proposed new education curriculum will be taught primarily by full-time faculty. Your college continues to invest in its students by increasing the ratio of full-time faculty to part-time faculty. This has sent a strong message to the academic community that your college is serious about moving its students forward. The availability of new faculty will provide mentoring to our students and the development of new undergraduate programs. Additional faculty will help in the innovation and the execution of the new general education initiatives by adding value to the students' experience here at your college. This shift in full-time faculty focus will increase the number of stakeholders who will help shape and develop this great institution. Thank you.
We're hearing a lot about change, but some things will remain the same. The proposed new general education requirements preserve departmental autonomy and structure. Curriculum and course content of all major disciplines will still be determined by the faculty in their departments. Departments may decide to modify requirements for their major disciplines based on a new general education curriculum, but this will remain the prerogative of the departmental faculty. Courses that now exist as part of the Gen Ed requirements may be incorporated into various majors as prerequisites or support courses.
The new interdisciplinary courses in the proposed Gen Ed reform will encourage faculty to connect with colleagues in other disciplines and to develop course ideas and content. Keystone courses like Arts of Expression would make connections between literature, music, and media. A course called Human Behavior would connect literature, anthropology, health education, political science, psychology, and sociology. World and U.S. History makes connections between history, economics, political science, and sociology. We are being given the opportunity to broaden our knowledge and to examine ideas from many different perspectives as we collaborate and make connections between bodies of knowledge to share with our students. These experiences might lead to interesting directions in our research and collaborations in research, and also allow our students to envision the possibilities for interdisciplinary collaboration in their own professional lives. Students will learn how people work together in our diverse world to solve problems from our examples as we work together to construct and teach these courses and from the content of the courses that we teach. These courses will deepen our students' abilities to analyze situations, think through ideas critically from multiple perspectives, pose meaningful questions, and work together to answer those questions.
As to the 16th of the 25 talking points regarding the Gen Ed reform, the Gen Ed reform meets the needs of a changing body of students entering higher education in the 21st century in at least 3 ways. First, it will ensure that every undergraduate experiences a relevant and challenging liberal arts curriculum. Secondly, through education in a broad range of subjects, it will equip our students with skills and knowledge that they need to be active and responsible citizens. And third, it will help York adapt to the ever-changing marketplace of ideas, and our students adapt to the global marketplace of the new millennium.
The proposed general education requirements include The proposed general education requirements include freshman seminar as a foundation course that will assist students in making the transition from high school to the new challenges and rigor of undergraduate studies. Freshmen are often a first-generation university student, a working member of their families, and a commuter, all of which have been found to have a negative relationship to student learning and satisfaction. In order to address this reality, Freshman Seminar is designed in such a way that it will expose students to fundamentals of academic programs such as constancy of assignments, active learning through student participation, and knowing faculty from different disciplines, and at the same time, encourage extensive student-to-student and student-to-faculty interactions, thereby building a sense of community among themselves. Students will have a feeling of, we are all in this together, fostered by the fact that they will take pretty much the same courses for the general education.
The new Gen Ed proposal includes a group of science keystone courses that include a laboratory experience that will involve all students in research. The lab exercises will introduce students to techniques of scientific investigation as they make observations, design and carry out experimental procedures, and learn how results and analyses are communicated in specific visual, quantitative, and written forms.
The proposed new general education curriculum enhances students' appreciation of diverse peoples, perspectives, and cultures in a number of contexts. While our students have been learning about cultural diversity throughout their education, it is incumbent upon us educators to see to it that it is a reality and it is represented in courses, particularly that the body of our students, our bodies is as diverse as ever, as the flags displayed in the atrium testify. Brief example is that when I teach French, I make sure that my students understand that there exists something called Francophone. That includes many parts of the world, including North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and India. Yes, indeed, India. The general education curriculum intends to build on that understanding and foundation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Provost. I've been charged with introducing talking point number 20, which is the new general education vision is to provide opportunities for students to make a strong connection between their academic majors or programs and their professional career endeavors. When I gave this some thought, one of the things that was at the core of what was important in terms of merging the skills and the educational requirements was mentorship. It is quite critical that as we want to improve our students in passing the CPE, that we are there and available for them. I recall a student that I continue to see here failing several times, but it was, I feel, the mentorship and just the strong encouragement that really fostered her being able to move forward and being successfully in passing that particular exam. I think how that transfers into their moving forward into their professional careers simply means that we as educators have the responsibilities to offer opportunities to them, be it research, be it scholarship, encouraging them to participate in volunteer and internship opportunities, as well as conferences that may be available to them here at York College. Thank you. Have a great day.
The new Gen Ed curriculum focuses on important across the curriculum themes, including ethics, global understanding, and practical application of knowledge. Today, we all live in a world in which more people speak English as a second language than as a first language. Our York students speak 80 different languages, and so they're in the vanguard of our increasingly globalized world. Our new Gen Ed curriculum is designed to help our students make sense of this new world.
York students come in their first year very engaged, and they embrace the idea of attending college. And somewhere along the line, they lose that engagement. And I believe that the new Gen Ed program is designed to help them retain that specific engagement and will provide for a more rewarding academic experience.
The proposed new general education curriculum will enhance institutional identity. This curriculum is unique to York College. Try as you might, you're not going to find York's Keystone course in Arts and Expression, or York's Keystone course in Logic and Reasoning, or any other of our interdisciplinary Keystone courses at any other college. Furthermore, there's no institution anywhere that will house the same general education curriculum. Thus, this curriculum sets us apart from other institutions, both within CUNY and outside of CUNY, and thus enhances our identity. But it does this while providing our students with a commonality of experiences that clearly set them apart and reinforce their own identity as York College students.
Hi, I'm here to advocate how the new general education curriculum will benefit our faculties and our college to thrive in a more integrated but also more diversified world in the 21st century. So we see at least 3 opportunities and 4 possibilities. The first opportunity is that the task force committee will organize workshops for faculties to broaden our intellectual horizon and update our knowledge. And the second opportunity is that the team teaching will enhance cooperation among faculties and help us to learn, allow us to learn new pedagogies from one another. The third opportunity is the newly designed interdisciplinary courses will help us to I forgot. Anyways, to stimulate exchange of ideas, and we see these. We expect these opportunities will result for at least 4 possibilities. One possibility is to develop the 4 possibility to revitalize York College as an institute. So the first possibility is to develop a re-energized faculty body, and also the possibility of developing new interdisciplinary minors, and the possibility of creating new applied and problem-centered research agenda, and also the possibility to create a more competitive learning environment for increasing student enrollment. Thank you.
I am point 25. Right, so we are at the end here. And point 25 is this. The proposed new general education curriculum represents a paradigm shift for the entire York College community. General education reform represents change in what we as a community believe is best for students, but it also reflects a much deeper task that involves systematic examination of the college environment and organizational culture in which that change is taking place. As we undertake discussion and consultation about the proposed curriculum, we're going to need to do a few things. One is that we're going to need to recognize that tensions and conflicts will arise among and between us as we consider these potential changes. Second, we're going to need to be aware of the impact of new structures and ways of working on different groups within our college. And third, we're going to need to work very hard to understand why different people and groups have different perspectives on how the college is performing and what general education should be. I want to emphasize that the possibility that we're building a common culture through general education review. The task force deliberative process has been a really spirited one. It's been full of difficulty, it's been affirming at times, it's been contentious, it's been collegial, it's been revitalizing. And one reason we wanted all 25 or more standing before you is to share with you how affirming and revitalizing this process has been for the task force and general education itself. But what may be the case that's most valuable in this process is not just curricular reform or the curricular reform that's arrived at, but the changes in the faculty and institutional culture produced from the process itself. For the ultimate success of gen ed reform at York, the process of general education creation and deliberation is just as important as the process itself. We believe that. The task force has been dedicated to this principle since we started. This is more than an issue of how efficient or transparent or collegial the process is. We invite your feedback. We welcome your input on the proposed education, and we are here to represent that. Thank you.
Wasn't this a fabulous presentation, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, come on. I have not been a part of this at all. So this is just a phenomenal presentation to bring all these 25 or so leaders to the table to tell you, to walk you through and talk you through this work that has been going on for a year and a half, and to have as a nice backdrop those great pictures of them at work. This is awe-inspiring. Oh yes, I'm in the picture.
I think the Gemsters deserve another round of applause. Which is the group that sang the song Let It Be? Now we've got Let It Go, Let It Go, Let It Go from Bill DeValle. I want to thank Deb and Vadim and Margaret in her absence and all the colleagues who presented. I think this is testimony to the inclusiveness, to the thoughtfulness, to the ownership which colleagues have brought to the whole process. Let's give the Gemsters another round of applause. Wonderful set of graphics, whoever put that together, Vadim, round of applause for Vadim. But I just want to underscore one thing that Deb said in her remarks. Please get involved in the conversations about it. There are going to be conversations at several different levels, among colleague faculty, among administrators, among students. Please get involved. Be part of the group that make it happen. We don't want you to be part of the group that, it happened. You've got to be part of the group that make it happen. And so as we hear from Vadim and Deb and Margaret about the opportunities for your feedback, your contribution, your ownership, I'd like you to really seize those opportunities. And if you don't hear from them often enough, just ask them. Go to the website. Be aggressive about our future. This is not the task force's job. This is not the provost's job. It's not the president's job. It is our job. It's our future. It remains only for three things for me to do. One is to thank the colleagues who helped to make this convocation a success. Matthew Katz and the staff at the Performing Arts Center, let's give them a round of applause. Holger, William Dinello, Olga Dace, and all the colleagues in the President's office and in my office who helped to do some of the behind-the-scenes organizing and orchestrating. Let's give them a round of applause. And a round of applause to yourselves. This would not have been successful had you not been here. Let's give you a round of applause. So that's item number one on my list of three things. Item number 2, I want to invite you to turn to the back of your programs. And you'll see in the back of your program some events which I'm hoping you can participate in, if not all, but most of them. We're going to hear from Lydia Gonzalez, and we saw Lydia earlier, talking at tomorrow's first Spring Provost Lecture about teacher identity and mathematics for social justice. If you can be there, please be there to hear what Lydia has to say about mathematics and social justice. And then we have on Friday, and it's an RSVP event, so please RSVP if you would like to participate. Chancellor Klein coming to be part of the President's Executive Breakfast Series, talking about K-12 and issues of education. It's not only relevant to people in teacher education department, it's relevant to all of us, what happens with our education system. We have the Spring Global Health Lecture, colleague from Amnesty International coming on March 2nd. And then the day after that, March 3rd, we have the first Spring Distinguished Scholars Lecture, and we're dedicating it to the Haiti issue. We're bringing a colleague from Florida International University who is a geologist who will talk about the signs of earthquakes, not only in Haiti, but in that part of the region in the Caribbean and Central America. So I encourage you, I invite you to pick an item or all the items at the back of your program. Bring yourselves, bring your students, bring your friends, colleagues. These are intellectually rich engagement opportunities for us to embrace. The third and final, before we break and we take our lunch and move on, is we heard so often during the presentations about change, about future. And some of you probably know that I've got a bunch of favorite quotes that I've now begun to post around campus. And as I thought of what maybe I can invite you to end this convocation with, is to think about the futures of strategic planning, Gen Ed, but think of the future in relation to an S word that one of my favorite quotation people has. And that S word is think about the ownership, think about the outcomes, think about the future in terms of its significance. And what I leave you, and we may not have copies for everyone, what I leave you is a quote that I took from Oprah. She's an icon. And I'll tell you an interesting factoid. Even before we began to make copies of this, I began to see copies of it in interesting places that the staff had begun to think are important places. And this is what Oprah said. And I encourage us to think about it in terms of our future, of the engagement we do in Gen Ed, on the engagement we do in strategic planning. What she said is the key to realizing a dream, and we're dreaming about the future, about Gen Ed, about strategic planning. The key to realizing a dream is to focus not just on success, but on significance. And then even the small steps and the little victories along your path will take on greater meaning. Think of this as your Oprah moment. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day.